I'm on the road right now, and I've been trying to make like an episode for a while now just to kind of go over some of my thoughts and ideas concerning the paranormal and the nature of the paranormal. And I've had a really hard time over the past couple of years just figuring out how I want to articulate it without sounding like a madman. And so what I've kind of decided to do is just try out filming myself on my phone while driving today, because I feel like today is the day where I might be able to get some of these thoughts off. All right, so I have a very different idea or thought concerning the paranormal than I really see anywhere else, and I felt like one of the things I can do to kind of establish myself as someone who might stand out a little bit is just to share this. And I think I might have mentioned on my channel before that when it comes to my worldview or my religious worldview, I don't really believe in spirits or spiritual world or anything like that. And I started off pretty agnostic when it came to the idea of ghosts. I was pretty much a skeptic. I didn't buy into it until I started doing this, and I figured out within a couple of years that there is in fact something out there that is beyond just owners trying to play tricks on you, or physiological responses to fear or whatnot. Like, I started to figure out, like, yeah, there's something there. And what I had to do was I had to reconcile my worldview with what I'm experiencing. And one of the things I turned to was one of my experiences at college, not paranormal experiences, but just one of the lectures I had when I was a undergraduate at University of South Florida. So when I was at USF, I took a lot of classes, but one of my degrees is actually in religion, and I did study life after death, near-death experiences, and spirituality and spiritualism. One of my professors brought up the idea of simulation hypothesis in one of our classes, and back then I was in my mid-20s, and I thought it was the most preposterous thing I ever heard in my life. The idea that our universe is in a simulation. And honest to God, I have not given it any thought whatsoever until I started paranormal investigating. And the direction I went when I started to understand that there is something there is, okay, how can it be possible that I do not believe in souls, that I do not believe in like spiritual concepts, but yet I know for a fact these things are here? And I remembered simulation hypothesis. And if you're not familiar with simulation hypothesis, it's basically the concept that we are an AI simulation within some type of bigger brain program, within a higher dimension. A higher dimension created our simulation of this universe, and we are just aspects of that simulation. Our whole universe is just a projection, if you would, of a program. And again, I didn't really think much about this after that lecture until I started ghost hunting. And I started to realize, interestingly, that a lot of the types of haunts we have in the paranormal world, like we talk about residual haunts, intelligent haunts, the idea of energy being stored, we talk about good spirits and bad spirits / evil spirits / holy spirits. We talk about all these concepts, psychokinetic phenomenon. And as I started to synthesize simulation hypothesis into how we understand the paranormal, I've come to the conclusion that the paranormal is evidence for simulation hypothesis. If we can ourselves create a simulation. And here's my thinking. There comes a point when no matter how advanced a program is, no matter how complex coding is within a program, you can have software glitches. You can have coding errors. You can have corrupted data. And one of the things I think the nature of ghosts might be is that they are corrupted data. They are a imperfection within the code of our simulation. So kind of think of it as like maybe a residual hunt is kind of like a cookie or a cache file. Like, you might delete the file, you might not have anything to do with a particular website ever again, but some type of kernel of memory of that event is left behind. And I think that the way we talk about residual haunts leads credence to this. And I think maybe if you had a coding error in your existence, or at the time of the end of your existence, there was a discrepancy or a failure in your code to completely delete itself when you die, perhaps that leads to what we would consider an intelligent haunt. While a residual would just be like a cache file or a data that never fully deleted itself. It's just kind of existing indefinitely. And so, like, again, I've held back for so many years, like, sharing this, but based on what I'm starting to see, I kind of wanted to be like at the forefront of this conversation on whether or not spirits could be evidence of simulation hypothesis. Now, here's the unscientific part of this. You might be like, oh yeah, you know, that's pretty cool, but what I'm saying right now is so unscientific, it's so ludicrous, because again, science requires you to be able to observe something to the point to where when you test it, you can make a prediction on the outcome of the test. And if your test does have that predicted outcome, you've learned something fundamental about our universe. If what you test does not meet the predicted outcome, then you've still learned something, but you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what it is you have learned. And so I guess what I'm saying is that me just saying that I think ghosts are, you know, the idea of being an aspect of this simulation is legit. I'm basically saying, well, it's not, it's just my idea. How do you test that? You test it by creating a simulation, a true artificial simulated universe, like a true AI simulated universe. And then when that simulated universe has at least one planet on it that forms life, forms intelligent life, does what we do, observe it very closely and see if there are many corrupted files in that simulation that allows something that is meant to fade away or die to remain within the program. And if you have that, you have ghosts. I think that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it, is this is a testable hypothesis if we can get to the point to where we can create a AI simulated universe that is a true simulated universe. If we can get to that point, I think the mere existence of ghosts in our world, in our dimension, show that there is viability to simulation hypothesis. So that's my overall idea. That's my overall concept. You know, I would love to talk about this more with people who are open to the conversation. I've considered a lot of perspectives. Some people be like, well, what do you think about angels and demons? Like, here's the thing. If, you know, we've had corrupted files happening from eons ago, you know, we should be able to get ghosts of other complex life forms. I think as the program goes on, you might end up with more complications, therefore more of the issues, which is why maybe only after a certain era you start to see ghosts. Like, when we've advanced as a species, our code gets more complex. But I think it's also fair to say that would a ghost of a Neanderthal look somewhat human-like but not quite human-like, have somewhat animalistic features that you might consider more demonic? Would, you know, a ghost of these things that have existed as intelligent haunts in perpetuity, would they be able to, like, negatively impact things and do things that a regular human spirit would not? I think these are questions we can ask, have a little bit of fun with. At that point, I would just be doing it for entertainment more than, like, actually trying to figure out the nature of it. But these are legitimate. This is a legitimate ground I stand on. Right now, I'm in a position to where, you know, there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much faith in things that I don't think we should necessarily put our faith in, that I'm willing to believe in something that could be tested, could be observed, could be, with the right technology and right innovations, be observed and replicated. And that's why I put it out there the way I do. So that goes back to, why do I still do paranormal investigations? Right now, it's twofold. I do enjoy seeing how history and the pop culture aspects of paranormal investigation coincide in historic haunted hotels. That's what I'm currently writing my book on. I find that absolutely fascinating, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to engage with that. The other side of it is that, you know, I would like to better understand the nature of the paranormal, even if it means proving myself wrong. I have no problem being wrong. I have no problem, like, engaging in an idea that can usurp my current way of thinking. The only thing I expect out of other people's ideas is that they can do what my hypothesis does, and that's say, okay, you need these tools to test this idea, and you can have a predictable outcome. And if you can do that with your current way of thinking, by all means, I think I could take that in, entertain it with a little bit more seriousness than something as weak as simple belief. Because belief without any form of testing or replication or predictable outcomes, and, like, there's just nothing there. There's just nothing there. So I still go out into the field and I still do paranormal investigations in hopes that I can start to better understand the nature of the paranormal with this, I guess you could say, frame I've created for myself. Because my thinking is, at this point, perhaps there's a way to allow yourself to become a ghost upon death. There's something you can do within your life. There's something you can do for yourself as you're dying to actually hold on to that little bit of immortality in our simulation. Whereas everyone else their code would be moved on to something else, something beyond themselves. Because, of course, your body's going to decompose. When that happens, what happens to your body? What happens to your thoughts, your energy, and all that? Well, that code would be dispersed throughout the simulation as deemed appropriate by the rules governing the simulation. But if you could hold on to an aspect of yourself within the simulation, I think that could be a minor path to immortality. And if you're aware enough and you're focused enough, you might actually be able to do some pretty impressive things in the afterlife. That's just my thought on everything. I am going to do something pretty like catchy or something pretty extravagant for my thumbnail, to try to get more viewers and try to get this conversation going. I know I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of paranormal teams and individual members of teams. So if you would like to have a one-on-one conversation, we call our conversations BS Talk, feel free to hit me up and I'll try to schedule something. We can sit down and talk about this as long as you want. I'm more than happy to flesh out more clearly what I mean by some of my ideas or some of the things I've said. And like I said, I'm more than happy to entertain some of the thoughts and ideas of other people, or even put them against my own under the right circumstances. So, thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be trying to bring a new Colorado-based team to a new location and see how BS Paranormal does under a new team. So look forward to seeing you there, and as always, sleep tight.